Hello. My guinea pig and I are going to answer the question, the universal question: why do I have to learn this math stuff? When will I ever use this? What will I use it for? Why should I care? How is this relevant to my life? When will I see this again? Basically, it's the same question, just said different ways. And thank you for your patience because I've been promising you an answer to this all school year, and here it is, like the fifth week already. And I've been meaning to make this video this entire time because whenever anyone asks me this question, I'm just going to tell them to watch this video because I'm going to have a lot to say about this, um, and I don't want to have to explain it every time I get the question. So here's an answer. Okay, so bear with me here, but life is all about relationships, right? Whether in a career or in your personal life. And when I say relationships, I'm extending that not only to interpersonal relationships, but relationships between um, uh, objects and events, cause and effect, decision making between involving different inputs in your life. It's all about relationships and developing the skill to identify and process complicated relationships, just like you do in math, um, helps you understand and react to your world wisely. It helps you make smart decisions. It helps you understand yourself better and understand your world better. Um, the parts of your brain that are involved in math related analyses, when applied outside just pencil and paper problems, are the same parts of your brain that help people make complicated decisions. Uh, yeah, I don't know if you've ever noticed this, but I don't know, if you come across like a 10-year-old and I mean, there can be very wise 10-year-olds, but then you come across someone who you personally think is, I don't know, very not just smart, but just wise, or you trust them to do things that you think have a good long-term effect on themselves and also the world. Look at the differences in how they perceive things and the level of intricacies. Shoot, I can never say that word. Intricacy, intricate things. The degree of intricateness. I can read it and spell it. I can't say it. The degree of intricacies with which they understand things. The math, decision making, and organizational skills that you learn in a class like Algebra 2, and all the other higher math skills open up different ways of seeing things that you can get in certain other practices in your life, such as the higher practices, not higher practices of art, but like if you really get into art and music, it really comes down to the same kind of uh, analysis of relationships. Anyway, so everything that we do in class, even though it may seem pointless, honestly, because you're like, oh, when am I ever going to compose a function inside another function? But it does develop your brain processing power in a way which is really one of the most valuable tools that you can gain when you're young, because your brain is more malleable now. Now's the time to develop these skills, not later. Plus, your life is front loaded with a bunch of important decisions kind of at the beginning. So if you put off learning higher level thought processes until like you're 50, well, that's good. But if you're going to learn it now when your brain learns things faster. I mean, that's why it's easier to learn a different language when you're younger rather than you're older. I mean, your brain is more malleable in general. Let me stop this for a second. Okay, next point. Some of your careers that you go into will use these things. Engineering, medical, uh, science, obviously, graphic design, surprisingly, software development, um, coding, mechanics, construction, editing. Come here. Business management, surprisingly so. Uh, Chef for ratios and that kind of thing. Hairstylist. I talked to my hairstylist actually a lot about how he uses some algebra in and geometry in his hairstyling business. EMT, designer, property management, especially with optimization, that kind of thing. Thought I'd mention that since we just did optimization. So a lot of careers will use these things. Now, will many careers require you to know the shape of a reciprocal function every day? I mean, honestly, probably not. However, some will. And I personally want you to have the option to go into whatever field you want to go into. Even if you switch college majors like 3 times before you decide on one. Now is the time to learn these basics. And believe it or not, I know this seems like really, really difficult. And, it is to learn it for the first time, but we're still in the basics. We're still in the basics of the math field. This is like learning your nouns and your verbs in Spanish. Like you can't go into speaking Spanish until you know the nouns and the verbs. This is very basic foundational stuff. You need the foundations of this if you even want the option to go into a lot of advanced fields. And I mention that because that's one argument that people say is that like, well, if I don't want to go into, I don't know, architecture or rocket engineering or biometric. I don't know. I don't want to go into a career that involves this kind of thing. And if I do, I won't know that until I'm 21. Why can't I wait until then? Well, if you wait until you're 21 to learn the basics of algebra, you will never get into the career because there's too much to learn. And again, you learn easier. Your brain is more malleable. I don't know if that's the term used anymore, but like it's easier to learn things when you're young. And so the general consensus worldwide is to give you the tools to go into whatever career that you want to, if you have the capability to do it, to pursue certain things. What I mean to say is you'll only have the capability to pursue what you want if you have the foundations early on. That's what I mean by capability. And so that means you got to learn this stuff now, not later, because there just won't be time later. There just won't. So even if you think you're not going to go into a career that uses this, you could not take honors classes in the future if you really just don't think so. You just stop taking honors classes. But if you want the option, period, at all, then just keep taking these classes so you have that option. Because again, this is really foundational. This is not even like my finger is not food. You're learning the basics now. You got to do that while you're young and you don't have a mortgage and dependents and dependents like kids, and you have the option of focusing a lot more of your time on learning. I had notes for something else I was going to mention. A lot of these concepts can be specifically applied to a lot of things in life aside from careers and aside from just a general, like, it's wise to, it helps you in the wisdom of making certain decisions. Like, in addition to that vague answer, a lot of these concepts can be applied in real life to like gardening, home tech, troubleshooting, construction and crafts, like DIY stuff, personal financial decisions, shopping, event and trip planning, business management of side hustles, because in today's world, a lot of people have got to have side hustles to make ends meet. And I have met smart people, who did not have a strong enough grasp of math that they met people who had a really strong skill in something, but their math skills were such that they made really, really bad financial decisions and it killed their business. Of course, businesses can be killed through all kinds of things, hurricanes and COVID, and it's not always people's fault. But fact is that the more you understand about math concepts. I mean, it just helps you. It just helps you make decisions. It just helps. Understanding medical diagnoses, that's important no matter what career you go into. Cooking and baking, navigation of interpersonal relationships, crisis management, understanding media cycles, that's job offer decisions, ability to interpret complicated situations and understand cause and effect patterns. These are all skills that are that benefit from a background in math. And I'm not talking about like, oh, well, if I want to understand this cause and effect relationship, let's make a line that represents the input and the output. Like, I'm not necessarily saying that you need to use like pencil and paper math. I'm saying that the skills that you gain from learning math are can be applied to these situations, and you can find your brain doing the same kind of thing. Like, you can feel it after a while. Be like, oh, I'm using this part of my brain now. Also, there's physical and psychological skills that you can learn, that you do learn from learning advanced math. And when I say advanced, I mean it is advanced. This is hard, right? These are hard courses, but it's advanced in comparison to, quote, non-advanced courses. This still is at the basics of math. Like, we're at the algebra is like the foundation of math, and you go into masters and doctorates, then you get to really, really advanced. But I'm saying advanced in relationship to high school. Okay, so the psychological and physical skills that you learn while doing advanced math in high school is focusing for extended periods of time, organizing a lot of info, because you know how when we get a problem that takes like an entire, I know it tries to crawl up my sleeve, problem that takes an entire page, that takes a really, really advanced level of organization and putting the steps from your head onto paper. That's really relevant in today's world of info dumps, to be able to organize work like that, and organize oversaturation of information. Again, that happens a lot in the world, and the fact that you can take so much information from a problem and process it in a certain way and get a certain thing out of it is it's important. Storing information in your long-term and short-term memory, persisting after errors, helpful no matter what if you're a person. Applying a principle or a concept to a real situation, so that's like, applying something that is true, but in an abstract way, and applying it in a real sense, like applying a principle to an actual word problem, for example, like the principle of distribution to the property of distribution, applying it in a real way, like on paper, not just knowing the property, but actually being able to do the problem using the property. Learning from your own process, like learning from your own mistakes, becoming accustomed to learning. Just the act of learning is something that's a skill that you can develop, that you're developing now. Self-analysis of progress, which is basically like metacognition. What other notes did I make? In the short term, why do you have to learn this? In the short term, here you are in this course, in this moment, and unless something completely unexpected happens, you're going to continue to take this course, and you're going to get the most enjoyment out of it and be less stressed out if you learn the material. Bonus, good grades. Also, trying your best makes you feel good. So that's another reason why you have to learn this, because in the short term, what are you going to do? Drop out of the class? Probably not. That's all I have to say about that right now.